What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update, and obviously we will be talking about that manager search. So without further ado, let's get into it, and let's start off with Julian Nagelsmann. And Mike McGrath saying that Tottenham talks with Julian Nagelsmann have hit a stumbling block over the uncertainty surrounding the sporting director role to work with in his next managerial appointment. Paul O'Keefe says the new manager is not close to being decided yet. Nagelsmann still tops the list, but they won't be afraid to move on and are speaking to others. And the Sun are claiming that Daniel Levy has reservations over Nagelsmann's age. It is not a deal breaker, but equally Levy wants to make sure that the new manager is respected by everyone, including Harry Kane.
Yeah, and it's obvious. I've said this so many times when it comes to Nagelsmann. We can't give him real answers right now as to where we're heading and what our direction and strategy is, because all that is just not in place at the moment at this football club. Until we have that in place, so we can really sell a vision to him, then why would he come here and risk his reputation when it's all up in the air? What if we appoint him and then we bring in a sporting director and he has a different vision to what Nagelsmann's been sold? So until that's all that mess has been sorted out, we sift through all of what's going on at this club from a sporting footballing direction, then we can't convince, I don't think, Nagelsmann, and we can't sit down with him and have a conversation about what our strategy seems to be, what kind of club we want to be, because we don't know at the moment. So how can we expect someone like Nagelsmann, who's been at top clubs now, even though he's very young, he's still a top class manager in his own right, and he wants these things in place. These are very important. I think most top class managers want them in place. So it's going to be very difficult right now. And that's why we're saying wait till the summer.
Yeah, and it's kind of what I've been saying all along, to be honest. Like, how can we consider what manager to bring in when we don't know the direction the club is going in? We don't have a sporting director, and everything is just so up in the air. So, I mean, how can they even be interviewing managers at this stage when just everything is so unknown? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make sense.
Agreed.
But anyway, it's not going to stop us talking about managers, and let's talk about the next one in Ruben Amorim, as Record Portugal say that Tottenham will meet Amorim over the vacant managerial position. Amorim is willing to listen to the project proposed by Spurs, but then again, what is the project proposed by Spurs?
Exactly, we don't know. There's already been reports previously that Amorim doesn't like the idea of working for Tottenham, so I don't know whether he's changed his tune or not. I'm sure Tottenham are keeping their options open right now as they wade their way through the list of managerial options. Amorim obviously has done a very good job at Sporting Lisbon. They play good football, but he's on a decent contract there. It's going to be quite expensive to get him out of that contract, and as well, I don't know if he's interested.
Yeah, but again, it always is going to bring us back to what we just said about the sporting director, about the direction of this club, and about all the unknown, different things that go into choosing a manager and a manager choosing us. But let's talk about Arne Slot. Telegraph are reporting that he is not the first candidate on Tottenham's list anymore. I mean, we did speak about him last week, saying that he was one of the front runners, but it doesn't seem that way anymore.
Yeah, it's only one report, but maybe the conversations that have been had haven't been well received. Although I did read as well that Spurs are set to interview him in London. I can't remember who reported that, but I did read that as well. So I think it's all up in the end in terms of I think it kind of in a way it doesn't matter who's first on our list right now, because who's first on this might not be the one who ends up being our manager. We might have to make our way down the list as things progress. So I think Slot's still doing a very good job. He looks like he's going to win the league with Feyenoord. Which is
a great achievement.
Yeah, really good achievement. Unlucky, it was a minute away from getting to the semi-finals of the Europa League as well, but Roma got there in the end. So he's still doing a very good job. But whether he wouldn't be my first choice on the list either, but he is doing a decent job. It definitely should be considered.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Like, I don't think he's anyone's first choice, but I think he's one that if you were to appoint him, then it would be an exciting appointment, and we'd be looking forward to seeing what he can achieve, because the football he plays with Feyenoord are brilliant, loads of goals, albeit it is in the Dutch league, but to break that kind of Ajax and PSV domination is nothing to be sniffed at all in that league. So I think we should be very much considering him. And when you're looking at maybe the other choices of the Nagelsmanns and the Amorims of this world, I think it is probably going to be easier to convince someone like Arne Slot than them lot.
I agree.
And the last manager we're going to be talking about is a new name to the list, and it's Xabi Alonso of Bayer Leverkusen. The Telegraph again are reporting that Xabi Alonso has emerged as a front runner for the Tottenham job after impressing at Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, he is doing a really good job there. They're playing some really good football. They're not doing the best in the league, in the Bundesliga, but they have been going really well in Europe this year, and they've been a really exciting team to watch.
Well, to be fair, Alonso took over in October, I think, and they had one win in 8 games when he took over, and they've been on a pretty good run with a few hiccups ever since he took charge, and they were definitely not in a shape to be in a European semi-final when he took over, and he's really changed their way of play. He's a very smart manager, and they're probably not going to get top 4, but they looks like they're going to in line for maybe another Europa League spot potentially for next season. And they're in some really good form right now. I think they've won 7 of the last 8 games. Or unbeaten in 10 games, something like that. They're in some very good form. They are playing some very good football. And if you talk about a manager who's worked under some of the best managers in world football, he's worked under Pep Guardiola, he's worked under Jose Mourinho, he's worked under Carlo Ancelotti, Rafa Benitez, the list goes on. Every manager he's had has been like a world-class manager. So he's taken a lot of these ideas, I reckon, and that's probably what he's implementing in his own managerial style. And apparently it's very much like possession-based, but also very aggressive.
Yeah.
Very much like trying to marry 2 kind of ways of playing, and he seems to be doing a good job. It seems to be working for Leverkusen, to be fair, but he did only take that job in October. Does he want to see a full season in this job before he starts to think about other things? I always like when managers are doing well, and then like if they very quickly start to look at other jobs, like in less than a year, that does also sometimes ring alarm bells for me. Yes, he could come here and then maybe decide, actually, I like this project, I want to be here long term. That's definitely possible. But if like he's at a decent club, Leverkusen, they're not a small club. So if he jumps ship like 8 months in after he's doing a really good job just to move on to a better job, like as much as I would be happy if he were to come here, like that would also be a bit of a red flag.
Yeah, it'll just make you think, like, once Klopp is out of Liverpool or a bigger job comes around, then he would jump ship as quick as he does with Leverkusen.
Sometimes, yeah. And like, why would he not want to like at least have a full season there before he thinks about leaving? That would be a bit weird.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's kind of like the similar thinking to Vincent Kompany, to be honest. But,
and De Zerbi.
But what I was saying before is that they're not doing too great in the league. I mean, I was just looking at now, and actually their form over the last 20 games in the Bundesliga, and 20 games is nothing to be sniffed at. Nobody has picked up more points but Dortmund and Bayern Munich in that time. They've picked up 40 points in their last 20 games, where Dortmund have picked up 45 and Bayern Munich have picked up 43. So
and in the European semi-final.
And a European semi-final.
So clearly doing a brilliant job.
Yeah, that is very impressive for Xabi Alonso. So, I mean, they're saying that he's the front runner, and it's a good source as well, the Telegraph out in Holland. I mean, would you want him? Would he be your number 1 choice? He wouldn't be the front runner.
He wouldn't be my number 1, but I think if there's possibility to get him out of Leverkusen, I would seriously consider it 100%. As much as I do have reservations about a manager who would want to jump ship in 8 months into being at a decent club, I think he's doing a fantastic job, and clearly, I think at the moment he's showing that he's could very well have a big future as a manager, and he always, as a player as well, he was a very smart player. You could see he could be a manager in the future. He was that kind of character. Yeah. So I think I don't know, he wouldn't be my number 1, but I do think like he's definitely one where would be lucky to have him, I think.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I always did think the same about Frank Lampard. A smart player, got his education and everything like that. And, you always thought he had a bit of leadership mentality. I always thought Frank Lampard was going to go on to be a good manager, but hasn't really seemed that way. But Xabi Alonso is doing very well in Germany, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, in terms of front runner, I'll probably say I wouldn't want him as my first choice just because he hasn't been a manager for that long. But if he was to come again, it would be one that would excite me.
I'll probably like him more than someone like a Slot or Amorim, to be honest.
Amorim, yes. I don't know about Arne. It's a difficult one with Arne Slot because I am always very apprehensive about people coming here from the Dutch league, because a lot of times people come here from the Dutch league and it doesn't really work out as well as they want it to do. But Arne Slot does seem to have something else about him, so I don't know. It's a hard one, isn't it?
I'm saying I'd rather Alonso. I'm saying.
Yeah, I know you are, but I'm saying I'm not sure who I prefer.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alonso's shown more in a way.
In a way. Yeah, I mean, but you look at Arne Slot, like he's been a manager for longer, and he did an amazing job at Alkmaar. He's doing an amazing job at Feyenoord. The sample size with Xabi Alonso is not that big,
but it's at a high level.
It is at a high level. It's very true. Let's talk about Clement Longley now, the last bit of the update. Gerard Romero is saying that Clement Longley was actually close to signing permanently at Tottenham for 12 million euros, but now it is becoming increasingly unclear where his future does lie. I mean, we've said it before. I mean, I don't want to sign Longley on a permanent unless it's a really cheap deal and he's only as a backup, then maybe I can accept it. But nah, just no for me.
It just makes no sense as well. Why would you agree a deal as well, unless you're certain about a player? For example, I'm trying to think of an example, but let's say if we had a player on loan and he was brilliant, like for us, like, and you were just certain about him, whatever manager comes in will probably want him, then I understand. But like Longley, there is absolutely no guarantees that a new manager coming in would want Longley in the side. So why the hell would you go ahead and jump the gun before a new manager comes in to sign him on a permanent when a new manager could well feel like he's stuck with him and he's not going to play him or doesn't fancy him and wants a different profile defender. So if you've got the option, if he's only on loan, there's absolutely no reason to push the button and signing him. Yeah. Definitely on what he's shown already. To sign him permanently. A new manager might well come in and think, look, he's cheap and I think I can do something with him, and then fine. But like before a new manager comes in to preempt that with the signing of Longley makes zero sense to me. So it doesn't make sense to do it before we have a new manager.
And to be honest, even if a new manager was to come in and say like they think they can get something out of Longley, I would worry about that manager and his talent ID. But look, at the end of the day, he hasn't shown anywhere near enough for me to want to sign him permanently. I don't think he's any better than what we do have currently at the club. So when we're looking at defenders to come through in the summer, we need to be looking at a much higher calibre than the likes of Ben Davies, Clement Longley, Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer, because we all know what they've provided for us over the years. And when you're looking at the names of defenders that I've just rolled off the tongue, I think that out of all of them, I probably only want Ben Davies to stick around as a squad player. The rest of them, I'm happy just to get rid this summer now. Gone.
The whole conversation a year ago was trying to upgrade on Ben Davies. That was the whole conversation. So Longley definitely doesn't represent that. And I agree. We need to start looking at upgrades, start looking at players either who are definitely better now or definitely have the potential to grow into a player much better than what we have. And at the moment, we just don't have that. And Longley doesn't represent that.
Yeah, especially in such a key area where we've been failing in so many years now. So it's time. It's time to stop going for these stopgaps, stop going for these third and fourth choices and get top quality players in that position, because that's the only way we're going to kick on as a football club. So that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
Can't you Spurs?